Hello. Ooh, yes, now it's working. Hi everyone, and welcome to the program launch party for Radical Book Fair 2024. Thank you so much. So, as I mentioned just before, the way that the evening is going to go is we're going to have a bunch of readings. So, we're going to have 3 readers, followed by a few words from Mari about this year's event and program, then another few readers, and then we're going to just have a bit of time to mingle, grab some drinks, grab some food, and just hang around for a wee bit. But for now, I am just going to introduce our first 3 readers. So, Alicia Per Muhammad is the author of the poetry collection Another Way to Split Water. Her non-fiction debut, A Beautiful and Vital Place, won the 2023 Nan Shepherd Prize for Nature Writing, and is forthcoming with Canongate. Alicia is the founder of the Scottish BIPOC Writers Network. After that, we will have Naomi Heed. Naomi Heed is a writer, poet, and creative facilitator based in Edinburgh. Her work explores themes of community belonging, mental health, grief, anger, and hope. Naomi's work has been published locally and internationally by Snack Mag, Edinburgh Literary Salon, Beyond the Veil Press, Sunday Mornings at the River, and more. Her poetry, Zine Kitchen Love, was released in November 2023 and printed by Taiponga Rises Studio with illustrations by Hannah Khan. And after that, we'll have Andres N. Ordorica, who is a queer Latinx writer based in Edinburgh. Drawing on his family's immigrant history and third culture upbringing, his writing maps the journey of diaspora and unpacks what it means to be from ni de aquí ni de allá, neither here nor there. He's the author of the poetry collection At Least This I Know, a novel, How We Named the Stars. He has been shortlisted for the Kavya Prize, Morley Lit Prize, and the Mosfet Sharon Prize, and the Saltire Society's Poetry Book of the Year. 2024, he was selected as one of the Observer's 10 Best Debut Novelists. So, everyone please welcome to the stage Alicia Per Muhammad.
Hi everyone. It's so nice to be here, to be celebrating the launch of the Radical Book Fair, which is like the best thing ever. I'm going to start off by reading actually a poem by Mira Matar, who is a British Palestinian poet, from this really gorgeous pamphlet called And Most of All, I Would Miss the Shadows of the Tree's Own Leaves Cast Upon Its Trunk by the Orange Street Light in the Sweet Blue Darks of Spring, which is a poem on its own. And I think I'm reading, lots of us are constantly evoking Palestinian voices at our readings, and I think we all continue to do so because we all understand that we love poetry. Language can change things, it's powerful, but it's also our capital. It's how we earn a living, and we need to use it also. We have to use our capital, we have to withdraw our capital for what we think is important. And so that's also why I think it's important to do that in this space too. So I'm going to start, this is actually a long poem, so I'm just going to read a short extract, and which is one of my favorites of the book. Inessential dream to be Palestinian is a position, no, an orientation, no, it is the whole compass, no, it is the stars themselves, no. It is the way I'm going, no. It is the way to go, no. It is the way to stay, no. It is the way. And I'm just gonna hold it up so you can take a look at the pamphlet in case you want to get it. It's by Virtue Press. And you can also just check it later if you want to as well. I'm gonna read 3 poems from my collection, Another Way to Split Water. And I'm going to start with this poem called I Am Learning Through Mouths, which is kind of about prayer, but it's also about where I grew up, which is Alberta, Canada. I am learning through mouths. My mouth is a pink shadow, the penumbra of lightning over repetitions of mountain and white spruce. It sips at Barrier Lake. I have so many photographs of that lake. In one my heart unspools like the language of my prayers. Sight of drool and hunger, my mouth withholds a waterlogged bismillah next to my tongue. My tongue is sometimes bright red. It dives into the archipelagos of a fruit called miracle. I catch the seeds of all my devotion. I think, is this not why Allah gave me teeth? To gnaw at sweet words and hear the wind scatter. I recite dua only to re-narrativize it again. Who was it that told me not to trust my memory? That looking back is like unfolding into deep space. My first photograph of an elk as it leaps across the plains and my mouth opens in witness. I think, God, for this, I still love you. The fish that have water. Dusk meets water, meets the history of my eye. I walk into the water. I walk into the shimmering body of a fish as the rivers rinse and monsoon not my memory. It is already night, and all I have learned is the past is a version of this earth where few things have a name. I glide my way through the anonymity of ghosts. This is the landmark of ruins I have become. A woman following every weaving hush, every tendril of water in search of a true story. Listen, I expected the Atlantic to show me all that ruptured when woman after locust crossed an ocean. There are too many names for canyon, and every day I hold those distances in my mouth, all the kilometers my longing has traveled. In the middle of the night, I walk right into my dreams and cluster with the other lost sisters of the moon, our bodies blushing out from the forest's velour. In the middle of the night, I walk right into a dream where the grass-pick girls scissor through my every plot of land. The thing about being halved is all the loose ends will sneak up on you, whether you're slicing zambaru or dragging a toboggan up a hill, threading in and out of the evergreens as you climb. There are too many ways to say cleave, but one day I'll split into myth and pass through the mouths of 100 generations. I am woman after spooling woman, ensorcelled by water that twins and fissures and halves into worlds. And I'm going to finish with this poem that's called House of Prayer. It's a ghazal. It's kind of another prayer poem, I suppose, and I'm also going to dedicate it to my father. He's not here right now, but still. House of Prayer. I walk into the beads of 33 alhamdulillahs. I walk into my childhood mouth, repeat alhamdulillah. 4 decades ago, Father too walked into this prayer, his body nested in the oblong bowing, his alhamdulillah humming deep until it matched the scale of the engine. It was during that first crossing from one alhamdulillah to another home that my father crushed open the chasm he has since passed down to every poem I write. The hollow, the forgotten Quran lodged deep in the night of an unopened drawer. My quest to belong, alhamdulillah, forgive me. I praise once again, I symmetry like the wings of a migrating bird. I repeat, alhamdulillah, and rinse and repeat, and rinse and repeat, like the rock of an egret. I hold this tasbih to count my alhamdulillahs 33 times, 99 times. The key is to walk again and again into the holy, repeating, alhamdulillah, 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 until the skyward calm. Father, what did you hope for when you uttered, alhamdulillah? When you whisked over the Atlantic in that giant bird, when the egg cracked open and the yolk of alhamdulillah spilled onto a new coast? Was it traveling homeward or away from homeland? I have learned that alhamdulillah does not resemble a border, but is a house of its own. Alhamdulillah glints beyond language. Praise be to God. My Western tongue holds the syllables, unhooks the praise in my own last name, Hamed. Always, I recite Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Naomi Hesse. Sorry, I was hiding in the back. So this week it was World Mental Health Day, and I imagine, like many people in the audience, mental health is a big part of my life. So I'm going to share a couple of new pieces today that I have never actually read out loud before. So I'm very excited to do that for you. The first one is called Side Effects Propranolol. Slow release, but that first day, propranolol hit me like Tilda Swinton hit Benedict Cumberbatch out of his strange body. I floated on the ether of the day. Propranolol loosened my tongue, made the hard things easy to say. I didn't want to come back to earth. There was something sweet about floating, above the worst things that were happening, and I was glad to let go of all the things I couldn't handle. The pills untethered me, set me free. I wasn't sure who was in control. It felt like me, but everything was so far away, and all I could see was the quiet as my heartbeat settled down for the first time in a while. Thank you. I'm also going to share, so many years ago, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. And it is something that has followed me around for pretty much my entire life. But you have to hit certain criteria to qualify. So this poem is called Qualify. Polycystic ovary syndrome is common. It affects how ovaries work. The main features are irregular periods, which means your ovaries do not regularly release eggs, or ovulate, if you want to get scientific. Unlike hens who lay eggs pretty much once a day from 18 weeks of age. In their first year, you can expect healthy, well-fed backyard hens to lay up to 250 eggs, unlike me, who has released less than 100 eggs in her whole lifetime. Number 2, high levels of male hormones in your body, otherwise known as excess androgens. But who decides that the hormones are male when we're all made of the same things that spawn male pattern baldness and excess facial or body hair? This extra hair is not meant to be there. It's called hirsutism, a word I would learn in my 20s that sounds nicer than a 12-year-old boy announcing my mustache in the middle of physics class, despite the painstaking minutes I spent plucking all the hair out in the bathroom, again, trying desperately to blend in. Number 3, polycystic ovaries. Your ovaries become enlarged and contain many fluid-filled sacs, follicles if you're nerdy. The follicles surround the eggs like a pack of kids with balloons, except that balloons hurt a lot less when they pop. Despite the name, you do not actually have cysts if you have PCOS. You've just failed to pass the woman test, despite the fact that you're more likely to have substantial breasts or be thinner than most people because doctors can't relate to people who take up excess space. And don't forget, you should always be trying to lose weight. It's only if you have at least 2 of these features that you may be diagnosed with PCOS and begin a long life of not fitting in. And I'm going to wrap this up with kind of one of my own classics. Is it arrogant to say that? I have, as Mohammed mentioned, I have my Kitchen Love poetry zine, which is available here at at Lighthouse Books. And I really love these poems, just carry them around with me. And this one requires a teeny tiny bit of participation from you guys, but it'll be okay. So this is Kitchen Love Part 4. I measure love on the kitchen scale. A practical method for finding out your feelings for a person. Try it with me. Pick a person. Close your eyes. Imagine you're in their kitchen alone. Are you comfortable? Have you been there before? Do you know them well enough to make yourself a cup of tea? Would you open their fridge or start digging with both hands in their sugar bowl? Open your eyes. You don't need to ask these questions often or make a habit of ranking your friends and loves. But the kitchen scale is a way to understand how people love. You see, kitchens invite intimacy. I touch with my hands the things that will go in your mouth. I taste what you taste. I make this for you because I love you, because you want it, because you need it. This intimacy is most important when someone we love is dying. You have to know who to call first, who should be there, who should come. When someone is dying, you can only have people in the house who know their way around the kitchen or who aren't afraid to try. There is something about death that makes it vital and urgent and necessary to live properly and well. Both hands in the sugar bowl. Thank you.
Hi. Okay, good. I sometimes struggle with mics because I'm short. I know it's autumn, but I live by Short King Summer. And the worst thing that an audience wants to deal with is watch a performer struggle with a mic. I'm going to read the prologue of my debut novel. So my novel, How We Name the Stars, works as an elegy. So it's told primarily through second-person narration. So the reader becomes the character of Sam, who we know by page 3 is dead. And so this is Daniel, our narrator and protagonist's means of processing his grief. But the prologue is actually the only bit of the novel where we get to hear from Sam's point of view. If you ask me, I tell you, Cetus, the sea monster, which would no doubt prompt questions with panic and intrigue. It's not a pretty myth. But I'd explain how the Aztecs knew the constellation as Axolotl, perhaps being native to Mexico, that pink salamander with its sweet face would be more reassuring to you. The truth is, both origin stories are dark, scary even. In the Greek myth, Princess Andromeda was offered up as a sacrifice to the monster Cetus, to devour in hopes this act might bring an end to Poseidon's wrath. Xolotl, who inspired the lizard's name, was god of fire and lightning, a guide for the souls of the dead into the underworld. If you ask me to explain why I chose this constellation to be yours, which of course you would, being you, I'd say, although darkness can be scary, it can also be profound. I'd say, imagine a blacked out room, completely void of light. Now imagine striking a match. Although the room is mostly dark, full of so much unknown, it's also full of so much light. Even if you looked at me with a face that screams, "You're certifiably insane," I'd say, see how inviting that single flame is, how brave it must be to burn so brightly, even alone with such darkness, even when it's faced with such pain. I'd say, that's you. You'd no doubt protest, call me dumb, tell me to be quiet, might even say, please shut the fuck up. You'd make some argument about how you're not bright enough to be a star, let alone luminescent enough to be a collection of them, enough to make up a whole constellation. But I'd counter this argument, pushing past your self-doubt. All my real feelings would begin to pour out. You aren't just a constellation, you're a galaxy, a universe to me. But knowing you like I do, well, all of this honesty would be too much. It would make you retreat like a clam, and it would be a lot of work to get you to come out of your shell. But no matter these imagined protestations, I still see you as the god of fire. When I look at you, watching you in all our quiet moments, and electricity runs through my body, a spark that only you can bring about. Around the fire, orange-red flames bouncing off your copper skin, I imagine you as the bearer of light. Someone who deftly moves between shadow and darkness, navigates with revelation and truth, holding those black eyes of yours shut, your hands snaking through the midnight air, your body aligning with the beat of your favorite song, playing softly from a speaker, and all I want is to be near you. As the logs continue burning, smoke seeping into hair and clothes, I witness you at your brightest and fullest, the brightest and fullest you have ever been in the short time I've known you. Tonight I want to tell you this. Tonight I want to grab my camera, take a picture of you, and say, pointing to the screen, "This is you. Can't you see how I see you?" But I fear that rousing you from this moment of joy, from the comfort enveloping you, might break the spell. Between the fire and the drink scattered at our feet, there's enough to keep you warm, but still I long to hold you close, long to offer up some of my body's heat. Perhaps it's the drink allowing these thoughts to unfurl, or perhaps it's something that's been building for a while now, but I stay quiet all the same, letting the stillness of night take over, allowing you to dance free under the October sky. As you continue dancing, I hold the 6 letters of your name close to my chest, looking up at the firmament, at these gods of vengeance who produced all this beauty around us. I begin to pray for you. I don't know who I'm praying to, but I pray you might remain in the light, always be this free, be this happy, that you might never know darkness. I then close my eyes, allow my body to sync with your movements, and whisper each letter of your name, releasing them into the night sky. D-A-N-I-E-L. You're singing to yourself now, an almost mantra, and I kid you not, I see lyrics buzzing around like the letters I've let go of. Inching ever closer to your light, I join you. Together our movements grow more erratic, more urgent, as we move and shake with newfound purpose, guided by something carnal, a yearning for truth and desire, the truth and desire to be our realest selves, the most honest versions. I will stay like this with you for a few more hours, dancing around this burning blaze, just as man has done since the dawn of time, when he used to fall asleep under the stars, seeing them as nothing more than blank pages in which stories would unfold, in which myths and legends would be written.
Thank you so much for our first few readers. Another round of applause, please, for Alicia, Naomi, and Andres. And of course, you can find work by all of the authors who are reading here today. Just in our bookshop, just ask us about them and we'll bring them up. And so now we're going to hear a few words about this year's Radical Book Fair, its event, program, and themes from Mari, the owner of Lighthouse Bookshop. So please welcome Myri to the stage.
I have props.
Oh.
Hi. This is weird. We've never done this before, but it's great. Why not? Why not launch? And now I have a captive audience. I did not put together this beautiful program. Those of you who know Jessica Gaetan Johannesson, she's not well enough to be with us tonight, but she has spent months putting this together, and she does it with the collaboration of everyone on the team. And the Radical Book Fair is very much, unlike a lot of other festivals, it's built in-house. It's by the booksellers. We do it around unpacking boxes and doing all of our other events. And it's a labor of love. And it's partly our community's gift to us. There are so many people who are in this room tonight who will be on this stage. And then it's our gift back to communities. So we try and blend both having writers, people whose ideas have made it onto the page, with people who are activists or who sort of embody the values of the questions that we're talking about. And because I have you as a captive audience, and there are only 21 events. I'm going to tell you about them all. So strap in. So the fair is, for those of you who haven't been, it's 4 days. Thursday we open, and you can browse the events the whole weekend, and that's free to do, and you can come and go as you like. You can drop in on a lunch break, you can bring your sandwich and just have a look. It's all organized by publisher. The publishers support us by paying for a stall, and that's how we pay for our writers. So thank you to the publishers if you're watching online. And then we do the events on the main stage, and it happens in the same room. So if you're wandering around and you're picking up some books, you get to listen in to whatever is happening on the stage. You get to be a part of those conversations. You can dip in and dip out. You can be late. You can get up and play with fidget toys or make badges or stickers and do with the space whatever you need to do with the space. But anyway, I was telling you, the program. On Thursday, we have 2 events in the evening. The first one we're opening with is CARE, so CARE Made Visible. We've got Mariana Brooker, Risha, and Emily Kenway. Risha is a therapist. Mariana's got a book from Fitzcarraldo that is somewhere in the pile. It's very sexy. Intervals, there we go. And Emily Kenway wrote Who Cares, and she's going to share it. To tell our stories, the journey of Palestinian narratives, and we have a few events that will feature Palestinian writers through the whole weekend, has Sami Hermes and Basma Galayini. Basma is the publisher at Comma Press, so it's not just that she is an editor, but she has shepherded so many Palestinian voices into print in the UK, so it's a real privilege to have her with us, and Sami's coming all the way from the US. We're piggybacking a tour. We didn't, Friday, Beyond the Bubble, Reshaping the Arts. If any of you are writers or creators, please, or you work with arts organizations, please encourage them to come along to this. We have representation from, I love saying this, the White Pube, Gabriela Lapuente, who is one of the authors of Poor Artists. Who do some wicked stuff down south, is coming up. And then we also have some representation, Alicia, who you saw today, from Fossil Free Books and the Scottish BPOP Writers Network, and Orion Brooke, who's written a book about the commercialization of the arts and what we do about it. We have a YA panel, so if you have young people, send us your young people. We have never done an event for young people before, not officially, they show up for stuff. But this one is actually for teenagers. So please send us your young people or talk to your school librarian. We will be providing free food and free tickets and help with travel, so help us. Then we are launching Transfem Futures for Nat Raha and Mieke van der Drift. Which is a new Pluto book, and Jay Bernard is coming over from Glasgow to perform as part of that. Words to Resist With is our radical writing cabaret. We have Selena Godden, Lisa Minerva Lux, and Hasib Hourani, who is also another queer Palestinian writer. The cabarets are really good fun. You can come and bring a group of friends, sit around a wee table with a nice wee candle, have a drink, enjoy a rousing show that is both panel discussion and also some readings and performances. We have a writing workshop from Jess Bruff, who's the founder of Fringe of Colour, and also a brilliant writer in their own rights. In Our Millions, International Solidarity from Palestine to Sudan is Saturday morning, and we have Lisa Minerva Lux, who will have been on the night before. She's a queer Lebanese British poet, but she is also an activist with Palestine Action. And she was recently, and has been continually for the last few years, the subject of harassment from police around the Palestine Action protests. So she'll be talking in her position as activist at that one. And Yasmin Abdelmajid, who is a Sudanese-Australian writer and activist, an incredible feminist. And so we're going to be talking about how we all fight for stuff that isn't happening here. And reach across borders, so come to that. We have Housing for All. Holly Pester is a novelist. Nick Bano is a polemicist. He's written a book against landlords, which apparently we were told at his Edinburgh event, somebody complained to, not our bookshop, a different bookshop. that it was a hate crime. That you couldn't just lump in all landlords. And, you know, they should check the new legislation. Anyway, Nick's coming back for a different kind of crowd, maybe. And then Living Rent is also going to be at that. No More False Solutions is our big climate justice panel. We have Hamza Hamoshene and Alex Lee from Friends of the Earth who are going to be part of that. Humane Resources. This is the one that's like for the brain and the heart, because these are hard times. And we have Hannah Proctor, Eating Your Tripod Training, and that one's hosted by our own Jessica Gaetano Johannesson. We Are It, Community Power in Our Time. This one, I shit you not, we have Jeremy Corbyn coming. He asked. He was like, "You're doing a radical book fair, can I come?" So we said, sure. So Jeremy Corbyn's coming. And he's speaking on a panel with Kate Pickett, who is in this incredible anthology, Act Now. Anthology, it's like a group project, but it's kind of reimagining what we do next. And Professor Oliver Escobar from Edinburgh University, who does a lot of really good stuff with poverty in Scotland. So again, it's marrying what's happening down south and internationally what's happening on the ground here. And then we close the night with a queer Swana cabaret. I know, it's gonna be great. Marwan, who wrote the Queer Arab Glossary, which is one of our favorite books this year, is coming up, and he's going to be talking a wee bit, and then Kiwa have programmed this incredible cabaret. So you can have a real knees up on Saturday night. Okay, deep breath, final stretch. Sunday. We have a workshop with Scalp. We may have some other things that morning. We may have some yoga or some other art activities, trying to connect our brains and our bodies. So if you know people who are doing that kind of workshop who might be interested in working with us, we have a really big space and we kind of want to do lots of different things this year. So send them our way. Our past in our future, embodying radical histories. This is harking back to the theme of the whole Radical Book Fair this year, which is this idea that the seeds of tomorrow are already there. They have been planted by the people who have come before us. We do not need to reinvent the wheel. We can fine tune, we can learn, we can build. And so we have three amazing historians and writers around history who are going to give us an insight into how the past has informed this present we are standing in. And among them is the incredible June Thomas. I made the mistake of putting June's book out in a pile before this event, so I don't have it in the pile because people wanted it. But she's written about queer spaces and how lesbian spaces shape queer culture. And then we have Henry Bell, who's very active in Glasgow and has written a book about the red flag and like socialist histories. And then Tommy J. Curie, who writes about Black histories in North America. Radical Reels is our collaboration with Take One Action. This is going to happen in the Snug, which is like, basement is the wrong word. It's the underbelly of the Roxy, and we're going to be having lots of different kinds of archiving in that space. And they're running a workshop. You can drop in, you can come for a slice of it, you can just come and watch some films. And again, it ties into this idea of like, the histories and glimpses into the past. We have a big community lunch, so food. Everybody loves food. Bring the people who don't think they like books to the food. And then they will be in the book fair, and we're going to be rustling up some Palestinian dishes, and we're just going to have like a chance to sit and talk and meet people. And there'll be a few of the team who will introduce people. So if you are someone who doesn't have someone to go to these things with and always feels a little bit awkward if there's a social element, then we will be your guide, and we will make friends together. I'm that awkward person. I do this for me. Against Erasure, Art and Archives Under Oppression, we have Skye Aradati Thomas, who has co-written an incredible book called Pleasure Gardens, which we don't have yet, from a small press about erasure in Kashmir, and about writing into the silences there, and there are some strong parallels to what's happening in Palestine. This idea of like, if you cut off the internet, if you cut off the media, what happens in those silences? What horrific things can happen, and how do we surface them and talk about them? And the book is incredible, and it's such a thrill to have her up. We've got Rosa Campbell, who's written about Bunny Lang, but also does some incredible work around feminist and queer archives and poetry. And Zozan Yasar is a Kurdish filmmaker who's based in Edinburgh and does glorious things. So again, pulling in both books and non-book. Our Entangled Safeties, Leah Cowan is coming back. She was here a couple of years ago for Against Borders, and she's written another brilliant book, which is a very eloquent fuck the police polemic. It's excellent. And Gracie May Bradley, who is another abolitionist feminist. And then we are finishing off with a conversation about inequality, which sounds very unsexy, but it's Danny Dorling, and he's a joy. And we have another writer, an activist who's coming over from Glasgow, and so come and end your Sunday night with some inequalities chat. There you go. This is what we did. Please, I have another job for you. Please take 5 of the program. Keep 1 for you. Give 4 away. Make sure one of them goes to someone who has never attended the Radical Book Fair before. We really want this to be more than just a space that is for our literary community in Edinburgh. It's about ideas. People who may find other big book festivals or the idea of coming to a book event or an event in a bookshop just something that is profoundly uninteresting. This is about the ideas. And if you are into books, then you get to go home with the book at the end of it. But if you're not, you still get to get into the meat of things and meet people, and there's lots of activist groups and other things going on. Jess would have made that so eloquent. So I want you to blank the fact that I just rambled at you for 20 minutes and imagine that Jessica Gaitan Johannesson beautifully unpacked this beautiful thing for you. And if you see her in the bookshop, give her congratulations. Thank you to everyone who is online watching this. There will be digital copies at the end of the night, if I have not had too much wine, if then tomorrow. We will have a few more readings, and then we wanted to make sure there was a space that was masked and safe, but if people are comfortable afterwards, I'm going to stick around for a drink and some snacks. We have very many of those things. And I was supposed to remember that the tiny copies of the Radical Book Fair program that are on top of the cupcakes are not sugar paper. They're just regular paper. So don't eat them. Not recommended. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Mo, who's a lot better at this, and I will take my props with me. Have a look at them.
I would have sent books flying everywhere. Thank you so much, Mary. That was incredible to hear about all of the wonderful events that you've got planned. And honestly, Radical Book Fair is such a beautiful space to be in. And it was one of the first places that I actually kind of like got up on stage and talked about my work and my book as well. It was so special to have that, and it was so special to actually kind of like bridge that link between writing and activism, because obviously kind of like a lot of people see those things as intrinsically different, but they're very much not. It's like our labor is attached to so much of the organizing work that we kind of like see people doing and kind of like engage with, and it's also a space to kind of like bring all of those ideas together. And also, I realized that I actually hadn't introduced myself, so better late than never. I'm Mohammed Tansi. I am one of the booksellers here, and I'm also a writer. But now for our last 3 readers. So, Olivia Calderon is a Cuban-American poet based in Edinburgh. Her work has appeared in Gutter, Interpret Magazine, Lit Magazine, and various local anthologies. She published her first scene, Florida Woman, last month. Afterwards will be Lakshmi AJ, who is a visual artist, writer, and social worker living in Edinburgh. She has performed at the Feminist Cabaret at the Edinburgh Radical Book Fair in November 2023, It is currently a writer-in-residence at Echo, the editorial platform of Take One Action Film Festival. Her art has been exhibited at Blunt Knife Co., and she is part of the 2024-2025 Artist Development Program, Merging Strategies, run by Embassy Gallery. She was also a resident at a writing salon curated by the incredible Lola Olufemi. Her work is inspired by her experiences of migration, finding pockets of community along the way, and dreaming of abolitionist futures. She creates an art in the hope that they lead to enduring spaces of care, connection, and revolution. And finally, last but not least, Anthony V. Capildeo, who is a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature, a Trinidadian Scottish writer of poetry and non-fiction, currently a writer-in-residence and professor at the University of York. Their interests include silence, plurilingualism, place, memory, and traditional masquerade. Capildeo's 9th full-length book, Polka Dot Wounds, had its in-person launch at the Alt Book Fringe in Edinburgh. This book was inspired partly at a residency with the Charles Crossley Trust in Launceston, Cornwall. Capildeo contributes a regular report to PN Review and has served as a judge or selector for awards including the Forward Prizes and the Jalak Prize. They support Fossil Free Books' call for book workers to organize for a genocide-free, fossil fuel-free book industry. First, Olivia Calderon.
Hello, that was such a long walk. Like Mo said, my name's Olivia. I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. My first name, Florida Woman. I am from Florida, so I made a play on it. Just recently, Florida was hit by a hurricane and was hit by another hurricane, and another hurricane's coming. And so it is a place that has really inspired my work and my craft and my creativity. So this is for them. I'm going to read 2 poems from this, and then a new, completely unrelated poem. This first one is called Homesick. This house is a drowned photograph. Grinning in the patchwork yard, there's a big shark jaw poised to take a bite out of the roof. Its teeth have been perfectly pointed and pearly and clean for the last 20 years. Since Katrina, Sandy, Irma, and Michael. Since my sister was born in 2004. Since Domingo smoked his last cigar. Since I left and came back. When I was little and leaving, we always drove past those jaws. I swear each time I could hear him say, "I'll miss you. Hurry back." Now I drive myself to the airport, and still smiling from the grass, I hear him again, this time asking, "How long have you been without a smile? Do you want mine?" So this next one is called Transplant. This is not a hurricane. Not quite fast enough, no matter how the sea tries to spin it. See, this wind is missing the grit of Atlantic salt. It's too polite to blow rooftops off houses or fruit trees from native soils. There's no music in it, no agony tearing through eardrums or the humidity of desperation. This wind simply blusters. And it's close, but it is not home. Alrighty, I just have one more poem for y'all. So this one is semi-unrelated. She's new, but I've been very inspired lately by deserts and just large swaths of like seas of land, seas, that sort of thing. So I grew up in the American South. So this one is called Caballero. Maybe I'll go west, cut myself on some new spurs, libation for whoever watches the deserts. Let the familiarity of foreign dust create a film over my eyes. Maybe one with a happy ending this time. I think that this loneliness is more useful to los rancheros, los caballeros, than us poets. Out there, you don't need to talk, longhorns don't need to listen, and deserted winds say enough between the rocks, between each grain of sand. Maybe I wasn't built for all of this, but instead meant to turn into a leather in the sun, work until there's a rut between me and Montana, until I have no name to speak of, until there's nothing but a hot outline of me left. Thank you.
I think, yeah, that works. Hi, I'm Lakshmi. I'm fresh here from a house move, and so my brain is fried, but I'm really happy to be here at the launch of this year's Radical Book Fair. I'm gonna start by reading a piece that I read at the last Radical Book Fair. It's a bit of a long one, and a bit of a personal one, but yeah, here goes. Hi Acha, Dad. I just wanted to say that I know why traveling with you was always so hard. The answer came to me as I stepped into the immigration queue at Luton Airport. It was 2 a.m. where you were, 10 p.m. in London. We came to the fork in our path, her and I, a thin plastic barrier separating a corridor. Dread hung in between us, unspoken. Squeezing my palm, she lets go and wanders to the right. The path on the left was for me. Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. All the different corridors and all the different faces all blur into one. Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. I'm on autopilot. I know which queue to get to. I know which official to nod to. I even know to avoid the far edges of the curves in the sneaking lines so I can get ahead quicker. She asked, I remember you saying your biggest pride when you're in an airport is being efficient. You've been in and out of them all your life. I saw this tweet about how DC dads like to get to airports half a day early. You trained us to be on our best behavior, know the rules and follow the rules. There was pride there in being the best, even if no one was watching, taking note. But now, I know it's precisely because we were on display. There was the dread there too, a particular anxiety that churns your insides, impending doom that looms over you if you're ever out of step, out of sync with the rigidity of the borders in which you're caught. She asked, did you always feel this dread? Why did you need to be perfect and make no mistakes? Did you need to be perfect? Acha, you had your worst mood swings on the lead up to travel plans, which meant we had to watch our step too. Your anxiety traveled not very far, but deep into your immediate surroundings, into us. The dread that comes with the knowledge that any border crossing, no matter how legal, is mired with fear and danger. I watched as she walked down her queue on the other side of the room. The ease in her stride, I envied it. Her queue moved slower, and I knew it would. My queue moved slower, and I knew it would. I'd warned her it would. When the border officer yelled at me, I felt alone, trivial and isolated. I stood my ground briefly, but I apologized eventually, even if I hadn't done anything wrong. Arguing with him, that is, advocating for myself, was not an option. The condition of my very own presence in this country was in his hands. The borders made you, my proud dad, feel small and powerless, leaving your children to feel the brunt of its strength. And then
It trickled down, just as it has done for generations. The borders took its toll on me in the hotel room with her, lines that hardened around my mouth as I held back tears, cold steel in my voice as the powerlessness settled in. The dark cloud in my heart that always follows the degradation by the border, all hurtled towards her, the one by my side when it's all over. Borders ravage the ones we love, sometimes through us, sometimes despite us, sometimes in spite of us. It lives and breathes in me and you and us, no matter how far away from the edge we go. The next one is called What If? Dark, hairy feelers. What if I lost myself in it? Seaweed tendrils graced the back of my knees and stroked my soles. The current wrapped itself around my waist. What if I gave in to the fear? These depths are not new. What if they pulled harder? How is it possible to be afraid of what you see? Would this fear still persist if the water I swim is so clear? White sand, home to a fantasy. What if the black of my hair melted into the red corals? Underwater, blue sky reflected on me. What if the blue, green, yellow seaweed made me a turquoise suit? Brown body, half in, half out, never anywhere fully. What if I leapt into another fantasy? Tails melt against each other, a swirl of colour, none owning the other. What if history has failed us, each preserving the other, free to roam to depths not discovered, not uncovered, unfragmented? What if I remain as I am, only whole this time? I've got one last one, which I'm slightly scared to read because it's by June Jordan. But I've been recently really inspired by June Jordan's lifelong struggle against Zionism and her staunch support for Palestine all her life and the Palestinian people. And I think she captures a lot of what I feel far better than I could ever do. So I'd like to read this poem that she's written. It's called Apologies to All the People in Lebanon, dedicated to the 600,000 Palestinian men, women and children who lived in Lebanon from 1948 to 1983. I didn't know and nobody told me. What could I do or say anyway? They said you shot the London ambassador, and when that wasn't true, they said so. What? They said you shelled their northern villages, and when UN forces reported that was not true, because your side of the ceasefire was holding since more than a year before, they said so. What? What they said they wanted simply to carve a 25-mile buffer zone, and then they ravaged your water supplies, your electricity, your hospitals, your schools, your highways and byways all the way north of Beirut, because they said this was their quest for peace. They blew up your homes and demolished the grocery stores and blocked the Red Cross and took away doctors to jail. They cluster bombed girls and boys whose bodies swelled purple and black into twice the original size and tore the buttocks from a 4-month-old baby. And then they said this was brilliant military accomplishment and this was done. They said, in the name of self-defense, they said that is the noblest concept of mankind. Isn't that obvious? They said something that never again, and then they made close to 1 million human beings homeless in less than 3 weeks. And they killed or maimed 40,000 of your men and your women and your children. But I didn't know and nobody told me. And what could I say or do anyway? They said they were victims. They said you were Arabs. They called your apartments and gardens guerrilla strongholds. They called the screaming devastation that they created the rubble. And then they told you to leave, didn't they? Didn't you read the leaflets that they dropped from their hotshot fighter jets? They told you to go. 135,000 Palestinians in Beirut, and why didn't you take the hint? Go. There was the Mediterranean. You could walk into the water and stay there. What was the problem? I didn't know and nobody told me. And what could I do or say anyway? Yes, I did know it was the money I earned as a poet that paid for the bombs and the planes and the tanks that they used to massacre your family. But I'm not an evil person. The people of my country aren't so bad. You can expect so much from those of us who have to pay taxes and watch American TV. You see my point. I am sorry. I really am sorry.
Hello everyone, it's the first time I'm reading at the Random Book Fair, and it's astonishing because I feel there must be some sort of collective imagination at work. As on the way here I was thinking of deserts and seas, but maybe that's not so surprising. So I grew up in the Western Hemisphere in the island of Trinidad, which so far, I'm looking for wood to touch, so far has been off the direct path of hurricanes. So we only had the tail ends of hurricanes, which meant you would only see a roof flying off, that sort of thing. You wouldn't have entire cities flattened. And I've been thinking about when wind and water, air and water, the things by which we live and of which we're made, become instruments of death rather than life. And the action of deadly wind and water in Florida, which is directly linked, of course, to weather patterns, ocean patterns changing, climate change, our complicity, where the money from our taxes goes. I've also been thinking of the idea, and being from the Caribbean and of a certain generation, I have to start with a really bad joke that will offend everybody. So, the really bad joke I'm repeating is the one that the name Canada comes from Canada. There's nothing here. And I've been thinking of that because I've been revisiting Edward Said's The Question of Palestine, which is a wonderful examination of the sense of home of Palestinians, but also the way that the myth that a place might be nothing, have nothing, that the people in a place are nothing, that you can somehow move into nothingness and change and people it, irrigate it and build. That idea, that carefully created nothing. Whenever you hear that there's nothing somewhere, you have to assume there's something there. Whenever you hear the word nothing for somebody else, that is home. So, I'm going to read two poems of slight to moderate length, so I feel like a weather forecaster now. But I only want to say that I don't know if anybody else watched the apparently important awards for poetry, the Foward Prizes for Poetry, which were live streamed and in person on Thursday night in Durham in the UK. And I felt unusually sane because several people mentioned the war on stage, and even though, as I recall, none of those persons was an ultimate category winner, it was nonetheless very sane-making to hear poets making direct reference to the truthful condition which is forced upon us. I did hear a reference to the brutality in which we're being made to live, though, and thinking about air and water and whether they're life-giving or deathly. I remembered a conversation I was having with my friend Jeremy Noel Todd in Norwich a few weeks ago. he's a very devoted father. He's not just a good poetry critic. And one of the things I told him was that I was thinking of the acts of care. That when I look at the footage of rubble, I'm not feeling just that I'm being made to participate in brutality. I'm imagining the final acts of care whereby a parent might use their body to get 3 seconds, just 3 more seconds of comfort before death for their child. So in being complicit in brutality, we also need to see the extraordinary care that goes into these martyrdoms. So this poem was written for some responses to Dante that were being collected for an Australian and Irish-based project. Purgatorio, thirsty work. Can this mild waterfall be called a waterfall at all? I follow clear water flowing over rock, broadening into stairs of water flowing over rocks, broadening to seating places, limestone mild. Knowing there are tripping places, drowning places, I sit softly in flowing water, listening to people singing, walking hard. I, who never had the talent to improvise, sing a descant. You were there, friend, and you were there in the swimming baths where ladies talked of hip and knee replacements. You were there, a flash of fuchsia when my eyes blacked out, but I kept talking till bullying unlooped. A soft and tricky sacrifice phosphoresces up from marshland. You are there, you maze me away, mountain descending a staircase. You appear all plateaus, promise amazement. If only I can stop seeing upside down, seeing everything upside down. Do you want to talk? Here I am. And thank you. And the next poem is dedicated to Zoe Schoolding. It's inspired by her book Footnotes to Water, and Zoe means life in Greek. Life being the note I'd like us to end on before the snacks and drinks. Outpouring. After Zoe Schoolding, Footnotes to Water. Rivers that are driven not to stay rivers. News of rivers stays new. Rivers decay, decaying rivers renew. Rivers are history launderers. Rivers are mystery laundresses. Rivers are misty corporations. Rivers are mossy incorporeal. Rivers, migratory homebodies, gush out from the bedside drawer in every motel and multiple translation, filling the room, taking the window out, spending every currency, and the mind back to the gutter, and the gutter back to the mine, and the mine back to cold diamond, and the miner back to immortal diamond. In a blink, or a murmur, or an ignorable transcendent infrasong, eyelashes, willful refusals to border, delimit, cover, glistening candor of eyeballs, efface a face, reveal a skull. Beneath the bone, the brain within, water again, rills of water, pedestrian rivers, rail plagues, somnambulant rivers, rail sheep, imaginary rivers, real floods, innumerable rivers, real code, commercial rivers, real death, unaccustomed rivers, real shift, phantasmal rivers, real heat, collaborative rivers, real heft, incontestable rivers, real sheep, unmappable rivers, even more real sheep. Ada the river, Zoe is called. Tell me, bluebell to body, body to berry, eel to elephant, meme to moire, odd volumes, Pleistocene to pond, skate park to stickleback, taint to tongue, uncollected to untranslated, erratum slip, English to water, French to water, lyric to water, stepped lines to water, a stumbling block to water, typeface to water, water to Welsh, water to wet, wet to wire, to ring and to rinse, so the Victorian birds sang, so the later birds censored, waving to drowning, today to eternity, mirror to river, river to face. Oh, there are stories of things looked at, loved, lost, forgotten, dug up, washed out, catalogued, pissed upon, the scarlet woman, lamplit, the nurse, houses, the incredible numerical erosion by houses, the incredible uninhabited reflection of houses, a whisper of work, a whisper of a force at work that is not work, nature, labour, the nature of labour, labouring nature, every route a river ghost, and we are in it fearfully, we are of it wonderfully, mud, I see through you, Claire's mud, written into the book of Zoe, larval, metamorphosing, mud coming of mud, nothing could be clearer, no thing could be clearer. Thank you.
I think that was just the best note to end on. Again, another round of applause to all of the readers that we have tonight. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here, for braving the rainy weather, just for coming out when it's now solidly autumn. Unfortunately, I've been living in denial, but it's now here. And just remember that when it's November and actually time for the Radical Book Fair, it will be even colder. So we should all get together somewhere and just kind of like hang out, go to book events. So please pick up a program. Feel free to browse the books that will be featuring at the Radical Book Fair. They're just at the table over there. And if you're happy to hang out afterwards, please do hang out, grab a drink, and say hi to the readers and just kind of like connect. I think this is the best thing about the Radical Book Fair is just being able to build community and consolidate kind of like all of these connections that we all have. So thank you so much for being here again, and looking forward to seeing you in November. I can do it.
I would leave this like committing to a bid is my thing.
Yeah, you got it.
I like to get the paper and my computer.
Yeah.